Okay, hello and welcome to this video on becoming a future fit leader and expanding your realm of influence and impact toward regenerative futures. My name's Jake, and I serve as an integrative life and leadership coach. And I work with impact-oriented leaders and change agents who want to confidently expand their realm of influence without sacrificing their well-being. So today I'm going to talk about what I've learned about being more impactful in our leadership by harnessing three core realms of influence that we can play with to expand the impact of our work while developing our future fit leadership capacities. We're going to talk about our inner ecosystem, our realm of inner influence, the way we lead ourselves, and our outer ecosystems, or our realms of outer influence. So, the way we lead others and increase our power with capacity in our teams or organizations and communities, and also the way we lead to create wider systemic and ecosystemic impact. Along the way, I'm going to weave in principles of regenerative leadership, and I'll offer suggestions for mindset, awareness, consciousness, and capacities for regenerative future fit leaders. And I'll also talk about the implications of those in our teams, organizations, and impact capacity. So, no one has all the answers, and that includes me. So, this is just an invitation for you to join me on this emergent and collective journey of exploring new norms and consciousness of future fit leadership capable of bringing about a more beautiful future. So, save this video if you want to come back to it. Take your time. There's lots in it. Play with the pieces, and yeah, just remain open as we go through. So let's jump in. Just a little bit about me. I've been in various change making roles for 10 to 15 years, through grassroots up to ENGOs. I've contributed to many initiatives working on climate, environment, social justice, systems change, and regenerative organization building. And I've offered my energy as an activist, a change maker, community organizer, educator, facilitator, and wayfinder. I've been a leader and follower and also a collaborator. So I've experienced many of the personal and organizational and collective challenges that come with this path of service, path of bringing about a more beautiful world through deep systemic impact and the pursuit of healthy people and planet. And as I moved through roles, I saw that others like me committed to this work struggled to live a balanced life full of joy and well-being along the way. I learned that even change makers aren't immune to the cultures, the paradigms, and the systems that they seek to change. We're just as saturated in these cultures and systems as anyone else. I saw that they too were living out the same degenerative beliefs, values, and cultures that have led to stress systems, souls, bodies, and the planet that we all sought to heal. And this is the common denominator of life destroying human systems that's causing living systems to break down. Those systems reveal degenerative values and cultures and paradigms within us, which inform how we act within and create in the world around us. In other words, our outer ecosystems or our outer systems mirror our inner systems or inner ecosystems. And so, this being said, we're not just going through a global transition of human systems and evolution of the world around us, we're at the same time experiencing an evolution of the world within us. I saw that there's a longer story of evolution at play, which has left us living out these stories of separation, like humans from nature, parts from wholes, our inner world from our outer world, just to name a few. And ultimately, the illusion that anything is separate rather than part of an interconnected web has led to destructive systems and structures and cultures which have forgotten to include the intelligence of life, the wisdom of evolution, and the patterns and principles of nature's way. So, restoring this connection is core to transitioning human systems to life affirming and life attuned systems capable of regenerating the well being of people and the planet into greater and greater potential forever. If you're here, you're probably like me. You're someone who sees that living systems are breaking down, that we're experiencing polycrises, and you're committed to contributing some sort of meaningful impact through your leadership. You probably also know we need a new way of being and leading that can take us through this deep transition. And if you believe in urgent action called for through the polycrises of our planet, you must also believe in the urgent action that's being called for through you. What led you here is probably a sense that there's some greater possibility and potential seeking to emerge through you and through us collectively. You may have been experiencing your own inner chaos calling for your attention, and you're choosing to answer the call. And not everyone's willing to walk this path of leadership, but you are. That's why you're here, and that's why you're so needed. So thank you. Just taking stock of where we are, living systems, all living systems are stressed. We have runaway climate change, the crossing of planetary boundaries, ecosystem breakdown, and the rapid and unpredictable impacts of those are ever present. A Gallup study, which interviewed 154,000 adults from 145 countries, shows that people are more sad, stressed, worried, and in pain than we've ever seen. We're spiritually impoverished, more physically unwell, we're disconnected from ourselves, each other, and the natural worlds. And social and economic systems are also reaching breaking points, and economic growth has come at the expense of our inner and outer ecosystems. So, systemic stress in the human and more than human worlds is feedback that living systems are breaking down, and it's calling us to respond, to adapt, and evolve into a higher form. Nature does this. Nature adapts through sensing and responding, and chaos precedes flow and adaptation. You may even feel a sense of bubbling chaos in your inner world, which is this feedback of your own inner ecosystem letting you know it's time for change. Our human systems are fundamentally out of line with natural systems, living systems intelligence, and high impact leaders are those who seek to lead us back into alignment. So, future fit leaders and organizations are acknowledging a new norm, a new landscape. The landscape of leadership and organizations has changed. The future is going to be volatile, uncertain, challenging, and ambiguous. You might have heard that term VUCA before. We're dealing with deep systemic issues which require leaders to develop a new norm of leadership and organizational capacity. And those challenges we face now and into the future require future fit leadership. That's leadership that unblocks the intelligence of life, that thrives on agility, resilience, flexibility, and emergence. Leadership that's attuned, systematically attuned to the complex ecosystems we operate within. Leaders who are creating the conditions for organizations to become more agile, emergent, and systemically attuned. Leaders must have a greater capacity to lead themselves, lead others, and create systemic impacts with resilience to systemic shocks and the ability to move us through complexity and uncertainty while alleviating root causes of the threats to life and regenerating living systems. And in order to fully embody this new norm of leadership, they must develop greater self-awareness and also systemic awareness, which together alchemize a regenerative leadership consciousness. Regenerative leadership consciousness seeks authenticity. It thinks systemically. It designs for complexity. It understands living systems, and it wishes to see the richness of all of life on Earth to flourish. In other words, we need life-affirming leadership. And my work has been inspired by and draws from the work around regenerative leadership by Laura Storm and Giles Hutchins. And with gratitude, I share some of their work in the spirit of building and expanding on others' works. So I encourage you to go check them out. They have a book, Regenerative Leadership. There's a really great course that I took that was a year-long called Regenerators through Regenerators Academy. So check it out. So let's just take a moment. What does regenerative actually mean? Well, it means creating the conditions for life to continuously renew itself, transcend into new forms, and flourish amid ever-changing life conditions, which is the primary principle that underpins life-affirming leadership and organizational development, where our organizations help rather than hinder the evolutionary dynamic of life. And it's beyond sustainability. It's the next evolution of what sustainability and sustainability work was trying to do. Sustainability means we do no more harm. A step further might be restoration. So restoration is humans doing things to nature to restore its health or well-being. Regenerative means we align with nature and living systems principles to allow those systems to self-restore, self-revitalize, and support the forever potential and capacities of living systems, by which I mean people, communities, ecology, climate, to continuously thrive, evolve, and regenerate. And in essence, it means we leave things better than how we found them. which hasn't been the status quo. Regenerative leadership then is embracing living systems principles and intelligence in our leadership and organizational being, culture, and design, so that we are realigned with the wisdom of nature to build organizations that create these win-win-win scenarios for individuals, communities, and the planet. And what I'll share in the next few minutes will weave principles of regenerative leadership and being, and we're going to explore again the inner, outer, and systemic realms of influence that we have access to. So, okay, first realm, lead yourself first. This is your inner ecosystem, your realm of inner influence. Leading ourselves is what translates into leading others more powerfully. So consider for a moment, are you leading yourself in a way which allows you to thrive, to flourish, and be well, really? Are you leading yourself in an intentional, authentic, and purposeful way? If we want to build regenerative futures, we can't withdraw our well-being from the equation. When we embody our greatest self, we're empowering others to do so with us, and we can only help people around us in ways that we've helped ourselves. If we're not well, we have less personal resources to be creative and compassionate. When our nervous system is in stress, we struggle to be creative, to innovate, to have care and empathy for others. And we must model the ways of being and leading we want to see, inspire, and empower in the world. So, leaders who are leading themselves with conscious self mastery and authentic expression become guides for others to live this way too. Even as soon as they walk in the door, and just their being, just being around them is inspiring. Leading yourself means knowing who you are, knowing who you serve, why you serve, how you serve, and staying committed to a lifelong journey of self-growth and conscious expansion of self. It means living and leading with purpose, intention, and clarity, and pursuing coherent alignment between how you think, what you feel, what you do, and embodying your authentic self and acting in accordance with your own inner guidance system. Many leaders find themselves, especially that I've worked with, caught up in the day-to-day challenges of their life and their work. They lack clarity, they lose their spark, their sparkle to overwhelm. And as they're navigating the urgency of their responsibility, putting out all these fires, they lack the space to slow down, to reflect, and reconnect to themselves so they can uncover the most powerful internal and external shifts they can make to lead themselves with greater freedom, confidence, resilience, and flourishing. And as a result, they stay in cycles of limitation and struggle, and so does their capacity to be more impactful in their outer ecosystems. If at this moment you know you are not living your best self and there's a call asking to be answered, you have two choices. One is to make the choice to take courageous action toward a more extraordinary life, or ignore the choice and keep treating yourself out of your greatest self. Here are some questions to serve you toward greater clarity of where you are, what you want most, and what's needed to get there. So feel free to take your time, pause the video, and write down your reflections. Even if you think you've got it and you're solid, I encourage you to take some time and just consider some of these questions. So first bit here, where are you now? What's going well, and what do you wish were different? What is needed to support your personal well-being, growth, and thriving? What do you want for your life and leadership, which you've so far not been able to create amidst your other success? And where do you struggle in your life and leadership? And what would you rather have instead? So once you have some answers there, the next question is really about connecting to why you serve. Why are you committed to having a positive impact for people on the planet? Next question is, what is possible for you? So we're slowing down here and we're inquiring inside. What's really possible for you? Connect to your desired impact. So as a note here, if you're an agent of change or a wayfinder of a better world, you've likely found yourself overwhelmed at some point, if not now, by the immensity of changes that we need in the world. And people like you who see and feel the magnitude of the threats to humanity and all of life have a wide realm of concern. And it can be helpful to consider and accept that your realm of influence is smaller than that realm of concern. And your realm of control is even smaller than your realm of influence. And when we accept our realm of control and influence, we accept we can't do everything. We get to claim what's ours to do, and we're able to work more powerfully and impactfully. So, that being said, connect to your desired impact. What impact would you love to be creating or creating more of through your leadership? Consider your team, your stakeholders, your community, your local and global ecosystems, climate. What impact would you love to be creating or creating more of through your leadership? Yeah, so next question. Is about connecting to your highest form of leadership for the greatest good. If you could go to your closet, I'm looking at mine right now. If you could go to your closet and put on an outfit which gave you all of the characteristics of what being an extraordinary leader means to you, what would that look like? So hopefully you've had some time to pause and kind of reflect here. If you're ready, now that you know where you are and where you want to go, explore where in your life you face internal or external challenges which may be constricting or preventing you from getting there. What's really in the way? It comes down to is if you want to create deep transformative self-growth that translates into creating deeper transformative impact in your realm of influence, you need to have awareness of what your blockages are and where your growth points exist so you can generate insight, choice, and actions around high potential intervention points that can catalyze that growth, can catalyze the progress and the success that you're looking for. So, what that can look like is working with the deeper mindsets, patterns, and behaviors that are no longer serving you and help you integrate embodied whole being changes that will cultivate more ease and flow and greater personal capacity to make deep shifts in your life. So, here are some questions to consider. Where do you secretly struggle in your life, which you don't often share? If you're really honest with yourself. Where do you face personal challenges, which, if you could overcome, would be truly extraordinary for you? What behaviors can you identify which are connected to those challenges? And can you identify any mindsets, stories, or beliefs about yourself which may be supporting those behaviors? So, given where you want to be and looking at what so far has been blocking you from getting there, what might you need to shift even if you don't know how yet? See, the power of coaching is that we have a partner in our growth who can help us see what we can't see yet. Excuse me. So let me give you an example of some of the ways my client Caroline and I were able to create deep insight and core shifts in mindset and behavior. So Caroline is a phenomenal, high-performing person, holds a PhD, is a chemist, is an executive of a company that she's fundamentally built, a really extraordinary person. And the company essentially recovers value from recovering waste and turning that waste into products for other companies to use. So, in essence, they are regenerative. Some of the struggles Caroline was having are for feeling stagnated. She'd been stuck in the day-to-day drudgery, which were her words, for years, constantly overwhelmed, playing catch up, trying to navigate these complex and changing circumstances and challenges of an innovative startup business. And she found herself drained of energy, ultimately with little time or space or energy to even step back and assess what needed to change. Little time to enjoy relationships, rest, and even just do the things that she enjoyed doing outside of work. And with little energy and finding herself wrapped up in these urgent tasks of every day, she also didn't have the time or energy to really nurture her team. So what we had to do was find a way to get her space for rest and reflection and support her with deep coaching. And coaching helped her see what she couldn't see about herself and challenged her to uncover those deeper patterns of mindset and behavior, which were no longer serving her best self. So some of the insights that Caroline was able to uncover were her sense of responsibility to keep her team well and her tendency to always be driving and improving, being productive, translated to taking on too much responsibility. And everyone burns out when they have to provide everything. This is sort of the poison of the individualistic culture. She realized that by taking on everything herself, not only was she burning out her flame, it meant she was trusting in her team less to take on responsibility with her, which meant that the team's capacity to do more was limited and their overall potential for impact was reduced. She realized that because of the culture and experiences she had as a young person, being excluded and feeling isolated and unaccepted, these very old pains, that she learned a pattern of abandoning her authentic self for fear of being rejected, which meant she was sacrificing her authentic self to play small and contort to whatever space she was in. And that contorting was giving her a sense of safety by upholding this image she thought others wanted to see as a strategy for feeling safe. This meant she rarely felt confident to show up authentically in her interactions with partners, with stakeholders, potential collaborators, and ultimately was limiting her ability to generate funding, partnerships, collaborative relationships. And her realm of influence was smaller because she was playing small. Some of the shifts in mindset and behavior that Caroline was able to create was through creating space for rest, reflection, and coaching. She reconnected to her uniqueness and was able to nurture that authentic self, really owning who she is and what's lovely about her, and letting in the successes, being able to celebrate all that she's been able to accomplish and all that she is and has to offer. She was able to clarify her guiding values and her motivations as a leader, as a change maker. She let go of old stories and beliefs about herself and created powerful boundaries in her relationships and with her work-life balance. And she ultimately embraced a growth mindset and accepted curiosity and play into her life and in the challenges she faced. And now she's more patient, shows up with more gratitude, and shows up with more confidence to be her authentic, shiny self. She approaches challenges and complexity with more grace, play, and curiosity instead of perfection. Her personal relationships have improved, and so has her capacity and ability to nurture relationships in her team as a result. And she has more time and space to do things she loves and knows when and how to create shifts that are generative of her energy or regenerative of her energy and well being, which is giving her a lot more resilience, lasting resilience. Ultimately, she's been able to learn to lead herself powerfully again, which translated into a greater capacity to be well, lead well, and generate greater influence and impact through her leadership. Okay, so second realm. The second realm is about integrating that self leadership and expanding your impact and influence through your outer ecosystem, through leading others. And again, as we come to lead ourselves powerfully, our inner ecosystem of influence, we can then leverage that inner leadership to expand outer ecosystems of influence, our people and wider systems. Because we show up with more courage and confidence and competence to motivate and inspire and empower other actors, other collaborators around you. You can move through challenge and complexity with greater resilience. um, you can actualize your vision and create greater impact in your team, your project, and your ecosystem of influence because you're full. So here's some of what I've learned about leading others through leading yourself in a way that gives us future fit leadership capacity through my work, essentially coaching clients and also as a change agent myself over many years. So first is maintaining your own practice, and that's nurturing your inner ecosystem. That means staying committed to living your best self with confidence, authenticity, clarity, and commitment to your growth. And it means being committed to your own self-mastery to live, lead, and be well. It means being or pursuing rather coherence of being authentically aligned between what you think, what you feel, and do, being integral. It means being aligned with your authentic self and acting in accordance with your own inner guidance system. It's doing the work you need to stay clear, to shift limiting patterns of behavior, thought, and feeling, and building and using tools that can continuously grow and expand your own self awareness, strengthen your resilience, and your own capacity to thrive. Some of the qualities that you or we can nurture, and you might consider how present these are in your life, are presence. So, nurturing a deep relationship to your inner self or your inner nature and your relationship with others in the world, your outer nature. Patience, being at ease with and opening to the unfolding nature of life, not being reactive, defensive, pushy, or judgmental. Silence, allowing the space of silence to nourish you in your interactions. Abundance is a frame of mind that opens you up to life's rich possibilities, keeping you curious, creative, and compassionate. That growth mindset. There is enough. And finally, dance. So, tapping into the rhythm of life, its playfulness, its change, its seasonality, its depth and emergence. So, moving from, nurturing that inner ecosystem and how that can translate into leading others. When you show up confident and you're clear in your authenticity or in your power, you're better able to communicate and advocate for your vision. So you can communicate a future that others can't see yet. Move people to action and create life affirming cultures of shared values, purpose, and mission. You can create deeper, more meaningful relationships, partnerships, rooted in trust, transparency, collaboration, and compassion. And this allows for greater vulnerability, diversity of experience in the gifts that come from that type of culture. You have a greater capacity to facilitate and nurture greatness in others and to hold space for others to step into higher versions of themselves. When we support our teams in this way, we increase their personal capacity to thrive as individuals and as a team. So you're supporting the development of people at deeper levels of their being by supporting their passions, their gifts, their strengths, their ability to find their own solutions. And thriving individuals create thriving teams, which create thriving communities and a thriving world. When you're leading yourself, you invite others to lead themselves with you. And how you show up in the world becomes a model of leading and being for others to be inspired by and pursue for themselves. If you for yourself value wellness and self mastery and growth, you are encouraging others to value wellness, self mastery, growth, and overall are modeling the importance of well being. You start showing general care and respect and concern for other, say, your employees, your team's well being, and it comes naturally, as will allowing flexibility and support that fits your team members' unique needs. Those who embrace a conscious and intentional journey of self exploration and growth grow their capacity for emotional, intuitive, and embodied intelligence. This is a huge piece that many of my clients have shared back with me and that I've seen grow in them. And it's a huge piece for me as well in my own self growth. Emotional intelligence is it really means we're aware of our own emotional experience. We can manage our emotions. We can regulate. We can sense and respond because of our own emotional intelligence. We can sense and respond to others' emotional needs by being able to perceive how others feel through maybe how we feel or verbal and nonverbal cues like body language or tone. And it gives us this leadership edge because we can rapidly sense and respond through interventions when we sense our people might be stressed, demotivated, dissenting, or otherwise are motivated or enlivened. It's working. We open to the intelligence of our being and have more tools to lead beyond the head and in and through the other aspects of our being. So here are some other future fit leadership capacities. You're capable of honest self-reflection and have a clear vision of who you are. We learn to not need all the answers because you don't have them anyways. And that also means letting go of needing to have all the solutions, expertise, hold everything yourself. And when you let go, you create more space for others to step up, take on responsibility, again, offer their gifts. And as a result, our collective capacity is nurtured and grows. We can be open-minded and open-hearted. So future fit leaders will model authenticity and transparency and trust and encourage emergence, new ways of doing things by allowing difference and diversity to bring about newness. So divergence and diversity is a huge aspect of how nature itself thrives. So in our context, when people are in disagreement or are divergent, there's actually wisdom to extract within the polarity. Spread the know and see what comes out. Or if we create spaces which feel safe for all voices and ideas to be heard, to come through, where we reap the gifts and the wisdom of those voices which might have been quiet or stayed under the surface. Cultures which prioritize safety to express and play with difference and diversity allow for richer potential by inviting hidden wisdom. And next is being humble, acknowledge strengths, acknowledge weaknesses. Again, have that vulnerability, and that's going to empower other people to do the same. It's important to detach our leadership as well. So detach our leadership and create collaborative cultures, which is kind of like finding a balance between having skin in the game and not letting your drive for self-gain or ego-driven behavior to get in the way. And this will model detaching oneself from taking things personally and rather enliven a culture of exploration and play, experimentation, co-learning, and collaboration in your team. And it will also support normalizing failure, which is where we learn the most. It also includes breaking down these hyper-competitive cultures and perfectionism in your team, so that the efforts of our teams are not given value by beating out others or being the best, but rather given value based on our unique needs and value we create in line with our shared purpose, mission, and vision. Next is constantly seek opportunity and live into possibility rather than just the problem. So see yourself as an alchemist and a facilitator of higher potential seeking to emerge. What possibility exists here? What is being asked of us? How can dilemmas be turned into advantages and opportunities? What are the strengths of my people, and how can I facilitate collaborative and complementary environments which alchemize potential for outcomes greater than the sum of the parts to emerge? And be flexible and adaptable. We need the ability to take messy action and move through complexity through challenge, through volatility, through the uncertainty, the ambiguity, that VUCA world, so that we can learn, grow, and adapt in unfamiliar environments and changing circumstances. And let me take this moment to just reiterate that old models of leadership aren't working anymore. And many leaders will stay limited by outdated models of leadership and organization building, which they've learned by proxy of just being part of that culture. And those old models are no longer serving them to thrive in changing world contexts or to serve them to create lasting systemic change that's capable of truly transitioning us from a life destroying to a life affirming world. So, rethink organizations and leadership and facilitate deep shifts. Those hyper controlling leadership structures and machine like thinking are not facilitating happy people or our greatest results. Excuse me. Hyper control will kill creativity, innovation, it'll kill flow and intrapreneurship. It's also going to hinder the self organizing capacity of an organization to make empowered decisions and bring forth new ways of doing things or adapting to solve problems. We are less flexible, we're less adaptive, less emergent, and ultimately less resilient to changing and challenging circumstances, which again is the new status quo. So organizations need to have these capacities to thrive in this VUCA future, this new landscape. And part of that, again, is being able to withstand those systemic shocks and disruptions to your work, be it pandemics or climate disasters, natural disasters, and so on. The rigid, mechanistic, fear-infused hierarchies with stressed out leaders and stressed out employees have a high degree of inbuilt fragility and inability to withstand those systemic shocks. So the shift that regenerative leaders are facilitating are things like moving from mechanistic and rigid to living and flexible, exclusive and extractive to inclusive and regenerative, command and control to involve and empower, power over versus power with, reactive to responsive, having a narrow view to a holistic view. Moving from monocultures and silos to diversity and inclusion and sort of this heady culture, right? Rational analytical type thinking to whole systems intelligence. We can enhance our outer ecosystem of influence by creating cultures which prioritize the following things. And this is from the Regenerative Leadership Living Systems culture model. So number one, survival and thrival. To thrive, a business does need to have healthy financial results, or else it won't thrive. Mission and movement. We need to make sure that our organization is contributing to something bigger than the organization. Number three is it's developmental and respectful. So holding space for yourself and others to learn, grow, and develop in respectful ways. Four is diversity and inclusion, valuing diverse backgrounds and perspectives as part of an inclusive, values-rich culture. Five is self-organizing and locally attuning. So unlock resiliency and agility through self-organizing principles. Again, supporting your teams to solve their own problems, to move through their own challenges, increases the overall capacity for the organization to self-organize. Number six is ecosystemic facilitation and transformation, which is about attentive care and understanding of the entire system in which the organization operates. There's going to be more on that to follow here shortly. Okay, are we ready for our third and final realm of systemic realm of influence? So if we want to expand our impact even further, we must consider the influence and impact we can have through a lens of systemic awareness and impact. The systemic realm of influence is about creating wider reaching impacts within, through, and beyond the organization. So here's some questions to consider. How does your organization create life-affirming value for your local community, your stakeholders, your beneficiaries, ecosystems, bioregions, and maybe the planet more widely? How does your organization support the emergence of life-affirming futures and our transition from life-destroying human systems to life-enhancing systems? How can your organization give back more than it takes? So again, I just want to reiterate that, with this stuff, I can feel very overwhelmed. There's so much, and I think it's because there's so much possibility and excitement. Regenerative leadership is a journey, and it's a shared emergent journey. It's something we're on as a collective. No one has every answer, and we're really discovering how to bring the world that we want into being together. So, transitioning life destroying systems to life enhancing systems at all levels can only require our collective intention, cooperation, and collaboration. No one person, no one organization can do it alone. They can do great stuff though. But we all must decide for ourselves to do it at all. So there must be a high level commitment for ourselves, but also in our organization. We must fully commit to a shared mission to bring human systems back into alignment with living systems in a way where ecosystems thrive and people come alive, and to commit to doing our part of that, however that looks like in your context. That doesn't mean we're committing to a world of less, which is often the sentiment, right? We're actually committing to the glorious possibility before us of having a world of more, of becoming more creative, more authentic, more purposeful, more compassionate, and generally more in tune with life within us and all around us. Bring others into this vision and into the commitment. So, bringing your organization. Maybe your organization doesn't have many commitments yet, so you can bring others in your organization into that vision. Bring your decision makers in, bring stakeholders in, bring them into that collective story and that collective commitment to regenerate impact. One example, from my business is I will only work with people who are committed to generating a positive impact for people on the planet. It's a requirement for me. You can't work with me if you don't have that um, overarching commitment. If you want to play at that level, I'm here. If not, there's other pathways for you. So you can set these sort of value-based boundaries and standards in your organization and your work, if you so choose. So let's jump into some of the mindset, awareness, and consciousness pieces which are required for greater and wider systemic impact beyond our organization, but also within it. So this regenerative leadership consciousness, what that is a consciousness which seeks to begin living and leading in life beyond an illusion of separation. Our leadership seeks to serve life, and our organizations contribute to life affirming futures. The next is systems thinking, and that's having an open mind. It's referring to the shift from the mechanistic ways of thinking to a way of thinking that perceives the interrelation of the parts within the whole system and understands that all systems are nested within other systems. It's really taking place at the head level, taking a bird's eye view. For example, the system of an individual, maybe you, maybe me, are also nested in other systems of community, culture, teams, families, and local ecosystems. The system of a department is nested within an organization of many departments, which is nested within a market, all of which is nested in perhaps many local ecosystems, bioregions, a global culture, economy, and the biosphere. A string pulled on one part means a string pulled on another, because everything is interwoven, interconnected. The next is systemic awareness, which is really about having an open heart. It's referring to the shift in our relationship with the system. With systems thinking, we're looking at the system, from the outside looking in. Again, that bird's eye. With systemic awareness, we're actually sensing while embedded within the systems. So we take a step further as we're now accounting for and sensing into the dynamics, the seen and unseen flows of knowledge, feedback, relational energy that are constantly fluctuating throughout our system. So, for example, seeing the emotional expression of your team in relation to each other. So, sensing when there's tension as a signal to intervene and uncover the source. Your awareness here might be sensing a sensation in your gut or maybe your nervous system, which is attuned to your environment and constantly feeding you information. And it might be telling you that something's not right. You are a conscious and aware part of the flow and energy of the system, in other words. Number 3 is ecosystemic awareness, which is about open will. It's reached when we're opening up ourselves to the full spectrum of nested systems that we're a part of, the human and more than human. We innately sense the interconnectedness of life, and we open to a field of awareness that pervades reality, what we might call the living systems fields. We become attuned with nature rather than separate from it. You might even experience high levels of this is feeling just one with everything. If you've had those moments, maybe walking through the forest or through meditation or something. A couple examples are being aware that as your organization is functioning, it's at the same time in relationship to your beneficiaries, your clients, your stakeholders, your partners. The materials you use come from ecosystems locally and globally, and they're part of a global economy or local economy, which is in relationship to those ecosystems, biosphere, and climate. At the level of intuition, you might sense this as, for example, after a natural disaster or after a pandemic, some global event, there's this heaviness in people. There's sort of like an unseen field of stress. Excuse me. Or you might feel the uplifting energy of those environments when people are achieving greatness. There's flow. People are innovating beautifully or working toward a common cause. There's a lightness, and we actually strive to create that. With these levels of awareness, you can then act as an ecosystemic facilitator, which is another term from regenerative leadership. So you're tuned into the systems you're a part of and have, therefore, a greater capacity to create high potential interventions, to move past blockages, which may be stifling results, and you open up potential for greater results. I like to think about it as Laura and Giles share in their book as acupuncture points. It's like really looking around your environment and your team, your organization, maybe even in your personal life or otherwise, whatever system you're looking at, where's their stuckness? Where could you create an intervention or put the needle in to create a release and let energy flow again? So here are just a few questions of what an ecosystemic facilitator might ask if they are in that role. What is the highest potential of the system? What is it asking of me? What's the quality of our soil? Do ideas, resources, projects flourish and flow easily? Does our culture and foundation feel nourished, or does it feel maybe depleted of critical minerals and nutrients? And what are those minerals and nutrients in your context? What is the quality of our interconnected relationships? Is our relational culture dominated by trust and compassion and collaboration rather than a dog eat dog, fiercely competitive, gossip dominated culture? Where does stuckness exist in the system? Where is energy not flowing, right? The acupuncture points. What is needed to create more space for that energy to flow again? What could change in the system to bring more aliveness? And how can we truly create ecosystemic impact through our actions and in our partnerships? Another way to have an expanded systemic impact is to find ways to generate value beyond your organization, create the commons. The metaphor, I guess, that's coming to mind just as I'm speaking here is, an apple tree. An apple tree is just constantly producing apples, and sure, it wants to survive and reseed in its sort of cycle of evolution, but it's at the same time producing food for other animals like us. It's creating food, which or biomaterial that can be broken down and composted by mycelium and fungi, eaten by insects, contributing to the soil and the health of the soil around it, which all of the other um, beings depend on. It's in a cycle of regeneration. So, commons creating the ability to seed and nurture and grow shared assets that can benefit other players. Can your expertise or your assets support the growth of other players, or are you holding on to them tightly? In Caroline's business, for example, the byproducts, again, were from other industries, which are given to her business to turn into a new compostable product for other companies to use. So, waste collected from many businesses creates value for other businesses while creating value for local and global ecosystems. Another way to have greater systemic impact, really within your team, but also changing the culture in other organizations, is to change how we measure success. There are so many ways to do this, but really, it's about for example, can you or are you measuring the wellness factor of your teams, the quality of your team culture? Can you or are you measuring how well your organization is contributing to local community, stakeholders, or your beneficiaries, your clients, and how you're improving their lives, for example, as qualitative indicators? Can you measure your regenerative impacts on local and global ecosystems? Um, Maybe measuring the regenerative potential of the materials that you're sourcing, your facilities, how much power they're using, or waste they're creating from your products. The next way to increase your systemic impact is to really harness your harness natural intelligence and living systems thinking. So this is really about the ability to see things from nature's point of view, to understand, to respect, and learn from nature's patterns. Can you learn from nature and use that wisdom to inform your leadership? Living systems have been developing their technology for billions of years. So why would we not be harnessing that wisdom? Right. An example directly is biomimicry. So mimicking the way nature solves problems. For example, nature is cyclical and works in cycles. It's not linear. So how could your waste equal food to another part of the system and contribute to a circular waste system? The work of Laura and Giles, they provide um, 5 pieces of living systems design. So actually, how can we be regenerative in our design? So number one is waste equals food. See all resources as valuable nutrients to be recycled, upcycled, reused, and regenerated in the value chain. Number two is clever shapes and forms. That's the biomimicry. It's seeking inspiration from nature, from time tested shapes, forms, and structures. 3 is regenerative materials. Use regenerative materials and products in all your designs and purchases. Number 4 is biophilic design. Biophilia means the love of nature. For us, the experience of being in nature or seeing natural living things does a lot for our neurobiology, actually. It's very important for our well-being. So can we design in ways that allow people to reconnect with nature within and all around them? And number 5 is ecosystemic design thinking. And that's about facilitating vitality and life affirming potential throughout your network of stakeholders. Okay. So this really brings us to the end. Wow, what a lot, hey? Again, so much possibility for us here, so many tools that we can play with, we can experiment with. I'd really love to, yeah, to hear from you. My inbox is open. Feel free to shoot me a message. And if you feel so called, if you want to be doing this work, if at any point you felt, resonance in your body, that there might be something here. Again, I work with impact oriented leaders and change agents who want to confidently expand their realm of influence for greater impact without sacrificing their well being. So, I would really love to hear from you. And if you like, you can book a strategy call, and I'd be really happy to chat with you. We're also working on creating a community of like-hearted leaders to connect, to co-inspire, to co-explore, and collaborate on this shared and intentional journey of regenerative leadership and impact. And it's very new. So if you'd like to know what that's about, again, drop me a line. If you're feeling inspired, book a strategy call, and I'm ready to get to work if you are. Much thanks, much gratitude for still being here and for all the energy that you offer the world. I hope you can leave here with a bit more, yeah, some level of more tools, some curiosities, some questions for yourself, some insights, all the good things. So wish you well, and yeah, take care.